Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, parents and students. Welcome to the first grade curriculum night. We are so excited to see you all, even though it's virtually. We're excited to see you all and meet you all and talk with you just a bit about first grade. We're going to start with a few introductions. And before we start, I'd like to let everyone know that if you have questions throughout the presentation, if you will place them in the chat, we will try to answer them via the chat. And if we don't get to everyone's question, we can follow up with email as well. All right, so let's get started. I'm Dr. Nelms, and it's great to meet everyone.
Hey everyone, my name is Miss Feeney. It's really nice to see you all on Zoom. I am a co-teacher with Miss Laria. She currently has a long-term sub, so I'll hand it over to her to introduce herself as well.
Hi, hello, how are you? I am Miss Briggs. I am filling in for Miss Laria.
Hi, I'm Miss Hernandez. Nice to meet everyone that I haven't seen already. Hey.
I'm Miss Jenkins, and I'm happy to be here. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, so I'm having issues with my sound. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Miss Jack, and I hope everyone had a wonderful day. Nice to meet you. And I'm Miss Jenkins. Good to see you guys.
All right, and I'm Miss Reeves. Good to see everyone.
Hi, I'm Miss Patillo, and I'm here on the first grade team as well. Nice to see you all.
Hi, I'm Miss Carpenter. I'll be working with all of the first grade classes this year as a RTI teacher. So I'll be providing small group support for students in reading and math. So I may be working with some of your students this year and look forward to partnering with you if so.
And that's the first grade team. We're going to take a look at our daily schedule now.
All right, hello. I just wanted to talk a little bit about our daily schedule for first grade. We start from 8 to 8:25 with social emotional learning. The students usually do different types of greetings with each other, just really trying to get to know each other in the class. From 8:25 to 10:25, we have ELA, reading and grammar. Between this time, we do take a 15-minute mask break. It is broken up by classes. So some of us go at 10:20, some of us go a little bit earlier, but we do have a snack and mask break at the time for 15 minutes where the kids are socially distanced. They're able to enjoy their snack and just take a little bit of a mask break. From there, we have 10:30 to 10:55, we do math. We also have 11 to 12:25 enrichment. Enrichment is different depending upon which class the students are in, depending upon the teacher, but they do have two different enrichments that they go to during this block. After enrichment, we all go to recess from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, where the kids do get to play in the playground with their mask on. After recess, we do lunch. Each class is separated into different areas where they have their lunch. And that is from 12:30 to 1 o'clock. Or I'm sorry, 1:05 to 1:35. And then we have math again from 1:40 to 2:35. And then finishing up from 2:40 to 3:30 with PBL, which is project-based learning, science, and or social studies, depending upon the day. So we do have a pretty full schedule, but we definitely have plenty of time for mass breaks, snacks, and recess and things of that nature.
Hey, hi, I'm Miss Jenkins, and I'll be telling you a little bit about the reading curriculums we'll be using. So first off, phonics. All first graders will begin their morning with 30 minutes of explicit phonics instruction. At Drew, we use the Kindle curriculum, which provides students with a hands-on approach to phonics. We will move sound by sound through the curriculum as a class, and then students will also receive differentiated small group instruction. And then we also have EL, which is our reading curriculum. It stands for Expeditionary Learning, or EL, and it works in conjunction with the Georgia Standards of Excellence and is organized into 4 thematic modules, which are tools. Module 2 is Sun, Moon, and Stars. Module 3 are birds. Module 4 are protecting the birds. And so in each module, we will use informational and literary text to deepen their understanding of these topics.
So along with reading, we also focus on grammar, and you can see that these are the topics that we will be covering this year. Students will learn how to write and complete sentences. They will also learn about types of sentences, parts of speech, use of correct punctuation and grammar, and they will also explore the writing process with the types of writing, including narrative writing, persuasive writing, and informative writing. So again, language arts is embedded into the reading block along with the EL curriculum.
All right, and next up we have math. So this year we are working on our number sense, so number routines, things like that. Place values, students will understand what the hundreds place is, the tens place, the ones place. Students should be able to count up to 120 starting from any number. We'll continue to look at addition and subtraction strategies. We'll also look at shapes, so our plane shapes, which are the flat shapes, and the solid shapes, which are the 3D shapes. We'll also look at time. Students should be able to tell time to the hour and half hour in first grade. Measurement, using non-standard forms of measurement. So if they take paper clips, opposed to using like a ruler with inches, but they can paper clips, pencils, just any object, they'll be able to take that and use that as their measurement tool. Also, we'll take a look at data and graphing, things like that. And then as far as money, they should understand the value. Sorry. They'll be able to understand the value of a dime and a penny, and also be able to relate it to their tens and ones.
Okay, so every day we do SEL, which is social and emotional learning. Every Monday we have Mindful Mondays, and it's a great time for us to meditate and think about our week and how to set us up for success and kind of set those expectations that we have for ourselves. We also use the Second Step curriculum, which is a great way to help us talk about our emotions and how to self-evaluate and reflect. And then we kind of wrap it up with morning meeting. Around morning meeting time, this is the time when we kind of talk with our neighbors, kind of share things about ourselves, and basically put the start to our day.
Hi, so over the course of this school year, the students. All right, so over the course of the school year, your students are going to explore 3 major units. That's plants and animals and weather. We'll tip into light and sound, and then cover magnets. Throughout these units, you're going to notice that your students are going to start to develop science skills like identifying patterns in nature, in life, cause and effect, and explore energy and matter. And then, like right now, we're learning what scientists do and how they think. And so the goal is to apply those skills as we move forward in these units.
All right, for social studies is basically broken up into 4 strands. The first strand is the historical understanding. That's where students will learn about historical figures such as Benjamin Franklin, Theodore Roosevelt, Ruby Bridges, George Washington Carver, just a few that I can think of. There are many others. The next strand is geographic understanding, and that's where students will learn about their city, county, state, nation. We'll also learn about continents and oceans. The third strand is civics or government. That's when we're going to explore the concept of patriotism, liberty, freedom, and brotherhood. The last strand is the economic strand, where students will learn about scarcity, goods and services, needs and wants, producers and consumers. All right, so we are a STEAM school, but we deliver instruction through a project-based learning approach. And here is a short video to kind of explain what PBL is and what it might look like in the classroom.
You remember what it was like in school. It was boring. You sat in class, memorized as much as you could, and tried to pass a test at the end. But is that good enough? These days, school can be more interesting and effective by focusing students on work that matters. This is project-based learning explained. Most adults live in a world of projects. Whether it's a job assignment, home improvement, or planning a wedding, we need to actively solve problems. But unfortunately, schoolwork looks more like this than this. Let's take a look at this project-based world. Meet Claire. She was recently presented with a challenge. Her company, Super Suds, makes soap, and it was up to her to find the most earth-friendly way to produce it in the future. Her boss gave her a budget and a few requirements, and it was up to her to come up with a solution. She organized and managed a team who researched the options and created materials summarizing the issues. Claire's team asked for feedback and presented their findings to the boss. Claire came out of the project looking like a rock star, and she learned a lot about green products. If you look closely, Claire's success involved critical thinking, collaboration, and communication, things that aren't often taught in traditional classrooms. The world needs more Claires, so how do we get them? The answer is project-based learning, or PBL. By focusing students on a project, teachers put them on a path that deepens their knowledge and builds skills they'll need in the future. Here's what I mean. Mr. Simmons has always been a good science teacher, and his students do well on Friday's tests. Unfortunately, what they learned was gone by Saturday morning. That wasn't good enough for him. Soon he learned about project-based learning and decided to give it a shot. Mr. Simmons got the idea for his first project on microorganisms when nearly half of his students were suddenly absent with the flu. He asked his students why they thought so many of their classmates got sick at the same time. That lively discussion produced a lot of good questions and a list of things the kids wanted to know. Mr. Simmons then announced their project was to help elementary school kids understand, how can we not get sick? After dividing the class into teams, he got them started on the project. It was up to the students to ask questions, research, collaborate, give each other feedback, and figure out the best ways to make their points clear to children. One team chose to make an educational video on the connection between hand washing and avoiding the flu. Another chose to create posters to show how viruses spread. The project teams showed off their final work to an enthusiastic audience of parents and their children at a nearby elementary school. Sitting in the front row was our good friend and local rock star Claire, who saw a bit of herself in the students. It was clear that the project was a success for the students, the audience, and Mr. Simmons. His students practiced critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. The project wasn't about memorization, but learning in depth about viruses and how to prevent spreading disease, a lesson they will never forget. At the end of the presentation, Claire introduced herself to the students and told them that they were rock stars and that the world needs more people who can think like them. To learn more about project-based learning, go to BIE.org.
Hey again, this is Miss Feeney, and I am going to talk first about parent-teacher communication. And on the next slide, I will wrap it up with grading and homework. So for parent-teacher communication, you should expect to hear from your student's teacher in the weekly first grade newsletter that is consistent across the grade level, and that will be emailed out to you weekly. We also can respond to our drewcharterschool.org email. And on school days, expect us to return that within 48 hours. But definitely email is a great option to connect with your student's teacher. We also use the app called Remind, and that is a way we might send the same thing that we emailed in the Remind app. So definitely make sure you have joined the Classroom's Remind app. There's a code, a unique code you should have received to make sure you join that app. And next, I will talk about grading and homework. So for grading, first graders are now given numerical grades in the subjects of reading, math, language arts, science, and social studies. So I'm going to explain the grading scale to see what letter grade you would receive. For an A, that is a score between 90 and 100. A B is 80 through 89. A C is 70 through 79. And an F is 69 and below. For homework, I know we had a question in the chat about that. First graders are expected to read for at least 15 minutes each day outside of class. And you will also receive a daily math practice sheet. Most likely you'll get that at the beginning of the week, and students will complete each day that evening for math. Thank you.
So just a few reminders for students. Please bring or put an extra mask in the book bag. Bring a jacket or sweater, and all students should wear closed-toe shoes every day. We want to make sure that their feet are protected. So now we will refer to the chat and see if there are any questions that we did not get to. So let's see. Have the math sheets been going home already? Ms. Carpenter, can you help me pick up from where the questions, I know that you have been kind of replying in the chat. Is there a specific place that I should start, or have you already answered?
Right there with the math sheets for genomes,
Okay.
yes.
Have the math sheets been going home already? They have not started to go home yet. We're discussing. We're discussing as a team, and they will probably start next week or the following week, but we will let you know in our weekly newsletter so that you'll be aware that the sheets are coming home.
And then will there be parent-teacher conferences?
Yes, there will be parent-teacher conferences. We have, I think the first one is scheduled for August 25th. And you should be receiving a communication from the school as well as your child's teacher as to how conferences will be conducted.
Okay, and then an overview of map testing. Please go over map testing, it says.
Okay, I'll refer that question to Ms. Thrash.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ms. Thrash. I am the Dean of Students for Pre-K through Second, so I am so delighted to be on the call with you this evening. In regards to map testing, that is an assessment that we use to kind of gauge where students are. Students have participated in MAP over the course of this week, and basically we're using that as our benchmark to kind of see where the students are so that we can tailor instruction and ensure that we're meeting students where they are. We also use it as a tool to identify growth points throughout the year. And so students will engage in map testing approximately 3 times throughout the school year, where we will look at their growth over time to ensure that they are ready to move on to the next grade level. Once students take MAP, those results are shared with you so that you can kind of see where your students started and kind of their growth over time as they have engaged in the first grade curriculum. So you'll be getting more information about that. Again, we just recently took MAP, and this is kind of helping us with planning. We also use that to determine what students need additional support and in what areas, and we can provide that intentional focus to ensure that we're meeting them where they are and promoting success for all. And as a correction, the date for the parent-teacher conferences is October 27th. We've had a couple of schedule changes, so I just wanted to clarify that, and you'll be getting information both in Ms. O'Neill, our principal's newsletters that you should be getting weekly, in addition to the grade level newsletter that you get from your child's teacher. Okay, there are a few more questions in the chat I can answer. Someone said they'd love to hear more about SEL tactics, in particular ones that help build connections and friendships. And so we are fortunate enough to have what we call an SEL coach here at Drew. And Ms. Jenkins Jones works along with our grade level teachers to provide themes and lessons that we do school-wide. And so students go through a series of activities and lessons through the second step curriculum, and they each month have a focus on different things. So there is something that talks about friendship, there's something that talks about kindness. There's just an array of different areas that we cover throughout the year. And so your scholars should be coming home telling you about some of those SEL lessons that they're learning, and we practice those during the school day. And so we try to use that in terms, sorry about the intercom. We try to use that even in our discipline practices. We try to get students to really reflect on their behaviors and be more intentional about being that ideal scholar. We have a Drew Charter School Creed that was created a few years ago that hopefully all scholars will be learning, and hopefully at some point we'll get to recite over the intercom, but that too embodies our SEL practices along with the lessons that we have each month for the students. There's a question, what's the virtual option protocol for quarantining? So right now, Drew does not have, right now, we do not have a virtual platform in place as a school, but we do realize that in instances where students have had to quarantine, that we do not want to deny students an opportunity for instruction. So in instances such as that, we have been able to live stream in cases where students had to be quarantined due to a potential exposure or close contact. But that is not something that we offer on a regular basis. AVA, the Atlanta Virtual Academy, is currently closed. And so we realize that there is a need for some additional support in that area. So we're working on that, and we'll provide some additional communication in the upcoming weeks. Will we see MAP tests from the end of last year? I found it odd that they were tested at the end of the year and first thing at the beginning of the year. So teachers will have access to that. If you are requesting that, we can definitely provide that for you. But again, because we were in a very unique situation last year, of course, we wanted to still gauge where students were. And that also helps us in regard to planning, ensuring that we're meeting students where they are and that we're able to take the curriculum and modify it so that we're meeting students' needs and building them back up. We realized that last year, some of our students did suffer, learning loss because you just can't, exclude the value of face-to-face. And so we definitely want to make sure that we're, acknowledging that. And this also gives us a MAP growth goal. And so with MAP, students are given a goal that says by the end of the year, we anticipate you being at this level based off of where you started. And so this data is critical to us to ensure that we're actually growing our children and helping them to exceed so that they don't start off, they don't end up where they started, if that makes sense.
And Ms. Thrash, Ms. Carpenter is answering some of the questions privately in the chat. And she'll update us as to where we are with questions that we may need to do whole group.
Okay.
One theme that I saw was about the reading logs. The students do not have to read that independently. It can be a combination of parents or siblings reading to them. I saw that coming up a lot as well. A couple questions about gifted testing, Ms. Thrash.
Okay, what specifically,
I guess when will that begin?
so if your scholar qualifies for gifted testing, Ms. Chang and Ms. Ransby are our gifted teachers. They will be sending out communication to you if you have not already received it. I know they've been doing some initial screenings, but gifted testing will be taking place within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then students will be placed accordingly. And so you should be receiving information relative to that from Ms. Chang or Ms. Ransby if your scholar qualifies or if there has been a recommendation for them to be tested.
Oh, Dr. Nelms, another thing we saw was sight words and spelling lists. Could you speak to that?
Yes, so at this time, we will be doing sight word practice. We will not be doing spelling tests as of yet. We will revisit that later in terms of just later on in the year. And you should receive communication from your teacher about when that will happen. But to start the year, we will focus on sight word practice.
When will students receive the MAP scores from last week?
Students will receive those in their first quarter report card. And then of course, when we have our parent teacher conferences, then that information can be shared with you as well, along with the explanation if you have questions.
I see a question. What day does first grade do COVID testing? Some first grade classes test on Mondays and some test on Tuesdays.
I think we are pretty much caught up in the chat.
Well, wonderful. Thank you all again so much for joining us this afternoon for our first grade curriculum night. We look forward to working with you all, to it being a great partnership and a fantastic year for our first graders. If you ever have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and we will get back to you as soon as possible. All right, everyone have a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.